This is the glorious church of Mary Magdalene in Gedney, Lincolnshire. Now, Gedney, or Gedney, as it was written in the Domesday Book, was the king's land. Gedney was beside the sea. Since then, the sea has been pushed 6 miles to the northeast. You can see in this close-up that the church was originally to have had a tall spire, which would undoubtedly have made it one of the grandest churches in the area. But possibly ideas changed during the construction, or maybe the ground or the tower was found to be too weak to support it. I don't know, but the addition of the small pyramidal spire makes this church unique and perfectly proportioned. It is known far and wide as the Cathedral of the Fens. Rising 86 feet to the top of the parapet, the tower is splendid, both in its proportions and the decoration it holds. The 2 lower stages are from the 13th century and have single lancets and windows of 2 lights, all enriched with dogtooth and with arcading between them. The topmost stage dates to the 15th century. Isn't this an absolutely wonderful clear story? The distance between the openings is so slight that it's like a huge greenhouse in that it can let so much light down into the nave below. Look at this fine south porch, built in the late 1300s. It had an upper story, a dividing floor for that is now gone. That was reached by a turret stairway and shelters a magnificent old door. When you see this door, your jaw will hit the floor. That's pretty good. This Latin translates to the peace of Christ be on this house and all dwelling in it. Here is our rest. And in the little section in the middle, there would have been at one time a small ivory cross in the centre panel of this wicket door. And can you see the letters in the wicket door? INHOPE, in hope. Look at these late 15th century clearstory windows with 12 three-light windows on each side, providing a terrific amount of light to the nave below. This isn't simply a jumble of brilliant medieval glass in the five-light east window of the north aisle. It possesses provenance. During the Second World War, a German bomber, hoping to bomb some railway lines, dropped his bomb near the church, and virtually every pane of glass in the church was blown out. The parishioners put together this east window, which was once a Jesse window, that is, a tree of life window, and that's the reason why a lot of the original stained glass no longer exists within the church. The eastern end of the north aisle is the Lady Chapel. On the floor is this well-preserved old stone coffin. In the left corner there stands a stone pillar piscina and a decorated wooden cross. The pulpit here, built of wood with a stone plinth and steps, dates from around the year 1700. This is the 18th century church warden's chest, where the registers would once have been held. Here's a beautiful little monument in brass of a lady in a mantle with a puppy at her feet, believed to date from the 1300s. The lady may have been Margaret of Goxhill, a descendant of Fulk Doiri. Here's an alabaster monument to Adlard and Cassandra Welby. Here under lieth buried the bodies of Adlard Welby of Gedney Esquire and Cassandra his wife, the daughter of William Apris of Washingleys in the parish of Lutton in the county of Huntingdon, Esquire, by whom he had issue 4 sons and 1 daughter, William, Richard, Robert, John, and Susan, being all living at his death, who departed this life the 11th day of August, anno 1570, being of the age of 63 years, and Cassandra departed the 22nd of February, anno Domini 1590, being 60 years of age. Interestingly, the chapel in the south aisle has a stone altar in the church which is dedicated to St. Thomas Becket of Canterbury. Most of these stone altars were smashed up during the Reformation to be replaced by movable wooden ones, and so this is rather a rarity. St. Thomas's murder was in 1391. Under the south window in the south aisle is this mutilated altar tomb with a portion of the effigy of a knight who is believed to have been Fulk Dorey, lord of the manor, around 1100 AD. This large cross on the screen, known as the Rood, was given in honour to a cadet of the Royal Navy who passed away in 1917, aged only 15 years old. The rood screen here, which splits the chancel from the nave, was cleaned during the early 1970s. Interestingly, in this chancel during the 1960s, a floor slab was lifted and it revealed beneath a brick shaft about 10 to 12 foot deep, and some of the bricks were removed from the west side to reveal a burial vault, but only one coffin was inside this vault, dedicated to the wife of John Boyfield Millington, and this was before burials inside churches were permitted. A small window below the line of the south window shows Christ's crucifixion with only a single face looking up at him. Could easily be missed thanks to the suitably pale shade. Here is a little peephole to the high altar from the vestry where the registers, beginning in 1558, were kept. The aumbrey behind the white cloth in the north wall was used to reserve the Blessed Sacrament. The high altar and reredos were presented to the church at Easter 1940. The chancel is chiefly 14th century work with a fine east window, richly carved sedilia and a piscina, and a 15th century low side window. On the west wall of the nave, you can clearly see the marks where earlier roofs once were. Also noticeable are the louvered openings in the belfry and the blocked up opening below them. This rather odd circular carved opening in the east end of the nave was carved around 1860 when the chancel was re-roofed. This lovely plain font is dated 1664, although the cover was a gift in the 1890s. Thank you most kindly for watching this film of St. Mary Magdalene's Church in Gedney, Lincolnshire.